There are women in this world who understand something far deeper than romance. They understand the language of true intimacy. They are not afraid to give, to nurture, to pour love in ways that make their partner feel alive again. These women don't just capture a man's attention, they capture his soul. They become unforgettable because they move beyond the surface of love and step into its deepest expressions. And here's the truth. Women who embrace intimacy with their whole heart are often the strongest, most secure, and most magnetic women you will ever meet. When we talk about the hidden power of women who give love selflessly, we're talking about something so rare in today's world that it feels almost magical when you encounter it. Think about it. So many relationships are built on conditions, on expectations, on what can I get, instead of what can I give. But a woman who carries that spirit of generosity into intimacy is different. She stands out. She doesn't only think about her own satisfaction, her own needs, her own desires. She is aware of her partner's heart, his emotions, his insecurities, and even his silent cries for affection that he may never voice out loud. She becomes the kind of woman a man never forgets because she gives in ways that go far beyond the surface. You see, true intimacy is not about technique, it's not about performance, and it's certainly not about control. It's about energy, about connection, about the willingness to give without measuring what comes back. When a woman embraces intimacy selflessly, she taps into a deeper feminine power. She communicates without words, telling her man, I see you, I honor you, and I value the parts of you the world often ignores. And do you know what happens in that moment? That man feels safe. He feels accepted. He feels like he can put down the heavy armor he wears every day and finally be vulnerable. And vulnerability is the birthplace of real love. Think about the average man in today's world. He wakes up every morning already carrying battles no one sees: financial stress, unspoken fears, social pressures, and the silent demand to always be strong, to never show weakness. Society tells him to keep it together, to hide his tears, to never admit when he's scared. But when he finds a woman who doesn't just want his body, but his heart, his soul, his raw truth, that man feels like he has finally come home. This is the power of a woman who loves selflessly in intimacy. She becomes a sanctuary, a refuge, a place where he can breathe. And because of that, she becomes unforgettable. Now, I'm not saying that selflessness means losing yourself. No, that's not the point. A selfless woman doesn't forget her own worth. She doesn't neglect her own needs. She simply understands that real love is not a transaction, it's a flow. She gives not because she has to, but because she wants to. She gives not because she's desperate, but because she is secure enough to know that love grows stronger when both partners feel cherished. And when a man experiences that kind of energy, he will protect it, he will honor it, and he will rise up to match it. That's the truth so many people miss. Let me put it in simple terms. When a woman gives from her heart during moments of closeness, she awakens something inside her partner that no material thing ever could. She awakens gratitude. She awakens loyalty. She awakens the kind of devotion that no other woman can compete with. Because men do not stay where they are tolerated. They stay where they are celebrated. And a woman who loves selflessly celebrates her man in ways the world never will. Some may say, but won't men take advantage of that? And yes, it's true. There are men who don't deserve such energy, men who will misuse a woman's kindness. But let me tell you this, even those men will never forget the one who gave without agenda. Even if he loses her, she will remain etched in his memory as the standard of what real love feels like. Because the truth is, deep down, every man is searching for that. And when he finds it, he knows it's priceless. The most magnetic thing about these women is that their selflessness doesn't make them weaker, it makes them stronger. Why? Because selflessness is not about lowering yourself, it's about elevating the relationship. It's about leading with a heart that says, I believe in us, I believe in our bond, and I'm willing to pour into it. And this kind of energy doesn't just transform the man, it transforms the entire relationship. Suddenly, arguments don't feel like wars, they feel like opportunities to understand each other better. Challenges don't feel like burdens, they feel like tests that can be conquered together. The entire relationship shifts from survival mode into growth mode. And here's the most beautiful part. A woman who gives selflessly inspires a man to do the same, because love is contagious. When he feels her devotion, he starts to mirror it. When he feels her trust, he wants to protect it. When he feels her energy, he wants to pour his own energy back into her. Suddenly, what started as her act of selfless giving becomes a cycle of mutual devotion, mutual respect, and mutual growth. That is the secret power of intimacy led by love. So if you are listening to this right now, let me remind you, the world doesn't remember the people who only take. It remembers the people who gave. Men remember the women who didn't just demand love, but created it. Women who weren't afraid to pour deeply. Women who weren't afraid to nurture. Women who weren't afraid to give their all in intimacy. Because at the end of the day, it is not about the act itself. It's about the spirit behind it. And that spirit, when it is pure and generous, becomes unforgettable. This is why the women who give love selflessly in intimacy are often the most powerful women in relationships. They carry a light inside them that makes them stand out. They remind men of what it feels like to be truly seen. And in a world full of surface-level love, they are the rare ones who go deeper, who create bonds that last, who inspire loyalty, passion, and devotion. They are the ones who show us all that intimacy, when done with love, is not just about pleasure. It is about healing, about transformation, and about building something that can stand the test of time. When we talk about why women who embrace intimacy are often the most confident and secure, it may sound surprising at first. Many people think that confidence comes from external things, looks, money, social status, or validation from others. But true confidence is something deeper. It's not about how many likes you get or how many people call you attractive. It's about the peace you carry within yourself. And one of the most powerful expressions of that inner peace and confidence is how you approach love and intimacy. A woman who embraces intimacy with courage and openness is not insecure about what it means. She is not afraid of being judged. She is not afraid of being misunderstood. Why? Because she knows who she is. She understands her worth, and she doesn't need to hide behind walls of fear. This kind of woman doesn't see intimacy as weakness. She sees it as strength. She knows that being vulnerable is not the same as being powerless. In fact, it takes far more power to open your heart than it does to keep it locked away. Think about it. Anyone can put on a mask. Anyone can play games. Anyone can keep their guard up, never letting anyone come close enough to hurt them. That doesn't take strength, that takes fear. But to allow someone into your heart, to let them see the real you, to share yourself fully without shame, that takes a kind of security that cannot be faked. It comes from a place of self-love, self-respect, and self-awareness. And that's exactly what makes these women stand out. Men notice this. Even if they can't always put it into words, they feel it. They can sense when a woman is coming from a place of insecurity, when she's giving out of fear of losing him, or when she's holding back because she's scared of rejection. But when a woman embraces intimacy with confidence, it feels completely different. She radiates calmness, she radiates trust, she radiates the energy of someone who knows, I am enough. And that, right there, is magnetic. Confidence in intimacy also means not being controlled by comparison. Too many women today are worried about whether they measure up, whether they're as attractive, as skilled, or as exciting as someone else. But the truth is, no one can replace the energy you bring when you are authentic. A confident woman doesn't compete with others. She doesn't need to. She understands that her uniqueness is her power. She knows that what she carries within her, the way she loves, the way she connects, the way she nurtures, is more valuable than any shallow comparison. And that quiet security is what men crave. Now, let's clear up a common misunderstanding. Confidence is not arrogance. It's not about saying, I don't need anyone, or I'm better than everyone else. That's just pride, and pride creates distance. Real confidence is humble. It says, I know my worth, and because I know my worth, I can share myself freely without fear of losing myself. That's the kind of confidence that shines through in intimacy. It's soft yet strong, gentle yet powerful. And here's something important. When a woman embraces intimacy with security, she actually sets the tone for the entire relationship. You see, men take emotional cues from women more than we realize. If she is nervous, doubtful, or insecure, he begins to feel the tension. But if she is calm, open, and secure, he relaxes. He feels safe to be himself. This is why women who approach love with confidence often create relationships that are more stable, more fulfilling, and more deeply connected. Her security becomes his security. Confidence also shows in the way she handles challenges. In every relationship, there will be misunderstandings, disagreements, and even moments of distance. An insecure woman panics in those moments. She thinks, what if he doesn't love me anymore? What if I'm not enough? But a secure woman doesn't crumble at the first sign of conflict. She knows her value doesn't decrease because of an argument. She doesn't beg, she doesn't chase, and she doesn't manipulate. Instead, she communicates, she listens, and she works through things with grace. That's real power. And let's talk about the emotional impact this has on men. Men are constantly searching for women they can trust, not just with their secrets, but with their hearts. When a man finds a woman who is confident enough in herself to love without fear, he feels like he's discovered something rare. Because so many people today love with conditions, with masks, with hidden agendas. But a secure woman is transparent. She is consistent. She is steady. And for a man who has been searching for peace in a chaotic world, that is priceless. This kind of confidence doesn't come overnight. It comes from doing the inner work, from healing old wounds, from letting go of the need for constant validation, from realizing that you are valuable simply because you exist. When a woman reaches this level of self-awareness, her entire energy shifts. She no longer sees intimacy as something to fear. She sees it as something beautiful, something that allows two people to connect on the deepest level. And here's the secret. Men don't just want beauty, they want peace. They want someone who doesn't drain them with insecurity, but who fills them with calmness, trust, and encouragement. That's what a confident woman brings to the table. She is not only beautiful on the outside, she is radiant on the inside. Her presence alone is enough to inspire respect and devotion. So when you hear people talk about women who embrace intimacy being the most confident and secure, remember this: it's not about perfection. It's not about being flawless, it's about being real. It's about being brave enough to love without fear, wise enough to know your worth, and strong enough to open your heart without losing yourself. That's what makes these women powerful. That's what makes them unforgettable. At the end of the day, confidence in intimacy is not about how you look or what you do. It's about how you carry yourself, how you love, and how secure you are in your own skin. And when a woman carries that energy, she becomes a force that can transform not just a man, but an entire relationship. Because true confidence doesn't just attract love, it sustains it. When we talk about how deep connection transforms relationships, we're talking about something that goes beyond attraction, beyond desire, and even beyond romance as most people understand it. Real connection changes everything. It changes the way two people look at each other, it changes the way they communicate, and it changes the way they experience love. And here's the truth most people overlook: intimacy without connection is just an act. But intimacy with connection becomes a bond. It becomes a force that ties two souls together in ways that are not easily broken. Think about it. We live in a world where people are more connected than ever digitally, but more disconnected than ever emotionally. Social media shows us highlight reels, filtered images, and fake perfection. But behind the screens, so many people are lonely. So many people are starving for real love, for real touch, for real connection. And when a woman brings connection into intimacy, she gives something the world cannot give. She gives depth in a shallow world. She gives truth in a world of pretense. And that depth transforms not only her partner, but the relationship itself. You see, when connection is missing, relationships become fragile. They may look good on the outside, but inside they're empty. The couple may share a house, they may share responsibilities, but they don't share their hearts. They don't share their fears, their dreams, their struggles. They go through the motions, but they don't go through the emotions. And that is why so many relationships crumble, even when everything looks fine on paper. But when deep connection is present, even the hardest storms can be endured, because connection is the glue, connection is the anchor, connection is what makes two people choose each other, again and again, no matter what. Imagine a man who has the whole world applauding him, yet he comes home and feels invisible. Do you know how many men live that reality every single day? They succeed at work, they provide, they carry responsibilities, but at home they feel unseen. They feel like no one truly understands them. But when he finds a woman who doesn't just share his bed, but shares his soul, when she listens, when she cares, when she connects with him on a deeper level, suddenly his entire world changes. He no longer feels like he's carrying his burdens alone. He feels supported, he feels understood, and that creates a love that no amount of money or beauty can replace. Deep connection also transforms how passion is experienced. So many people think passion is just about physical sparks, but passion without emotional depth burns out quickly. It's like a firework, bright for a moment, then gone. But when connection fuels passion, it's not a firework, it's a steady flame. It doesn't just explode, it warms, it sustains, it endures. That's why couples who are deeply connected don't just love each other, they crave each other, not because of superficial attraction, but because their souls recognize each other. And here's something powerful: connection creates loyalty. A man who feels deeply connected to a woman doesn't look elsewhere. Why? Because his heart is already full. He's not searching for someone else to complete him. He's found someone who understands him in ways no one else does. And loyalty that comes from connection is unshakable. It's not forced, it's not demanded, it's not begged for. It's natural. It flows from the fact that no other woman can offer what that deep connection provides. But let's not pretend this kind of connection is automatic. It requires vulnerability. It requires both people to take off the masks, to let down the walls, to be honest even when it's uncomfortable. And that's where the transformation really happens. Because the moment you open up your fears, your insecurities, your truths, and you are met with love instead of judgment, that's the moment trust is built. That's the moment the bond becomes unbreakable. For women, this means understanding that connection is not about doing everything perfectly, it's about being real. Men don't need perfection, they need presence. They need someone who sees them, hears them, values them, not just for what they do, but for who they are. And when a woman embraces that role, when she brings connection into intimacy, she becomes unforgettable. Not because of her appearance, not because of her performance, but because of the way she makes him feel. And feelings, true, deep feelings, are what linger long after everything else fades. And do you know what's even more powerful? Connection heals. It heals wounds from the past, it heals insecurities, it heals the quiet doubts that whisper late at night. When a man feels connected to a woman, he starts to believe again, in love, in loyalty, in the possibility of forever. And when a woman feels that same connection, she feels safe to give, safe to trust, safe to love fully without fear of betrayal. That mutual healing is what makes relationships not just survive, but thrive. This is why the women who bring deep connection into intimacy transform relationships in ways others cannot. They don't just create moments, they create memories. They don't just spark attraction, they build foundations. They don't just make men feel desired, they make them feel understood, accepted, and cherished. And those three things, understanding, acceptance, and cherishing, are what every human heart is searching for, whether they admit it or not. At the end of the day, connection is the difference between a love that fades and a love that lasts. It's the difference between being remembered for a while and being remembered forever. And when you bring connection into your intimacy, you are not just changing your partner, you are changing the destiny of your relationship. Because real connection is rare, and when it's found, it becomes the kind of love story people talk about for the rest of their lives. So if you are listening right now, remember this: beauty will fade, sparks may come and go, but connection, that is eternal, build it, nurture it, protect it. Because once you have it, you will realize that true intimacy is not about the body, it's about the bond. And that bond, when rooted in connection, can withstand time, distance, and every storm life tries to bring your way. And that's the truth most people don't talk about: real intimacy, real confidence, and real connection. If this spoke to you, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're ready for more powerful conversations like this, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because we're just getting started. Until next time, stay real, stay bold, and never settle for surface love when you were created for something deeper.